imagine what they're going through. It's just it's really tough to act like everything is normal right now because the things that we're seeing in our backyard is anything but normal.
Yeah, very, very abnormal times in Minneapolis. I can say just walking the streets on Saturday late afternoon, just very eerie, just an empty setting, empty feeling.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of people out, and it was just very. The mood here is it's off for sure.
It's everyone. It's affecting everyone. We've talked about it before. I mean, the ripple effects go as far as children, pets, your coworkers, your classmates, you yourself may be watching right now. I mean, it's literally affecting every single person in the state. And like, I don't know if people that are not living through it right now in Minnesota understand how unnormal and irregular things are. Every single person is looking over their shoulders, looking out of the corner of their eyes, wondering when the next shoe is going to drop, when the next killing is going to be, when the next shooting is going to be, are they going to send this militarized unit or this federal force or people. Everyone is scared and confused and angry and feels let down by the people that are supposed to protect us, public officials and people in charge of public safety. So it's just it's a really confusing and infuriating time, and it doesn't feel like it's going to end anytime soon, unfortunately. Although we have reason to, there's some hopeful things that have happened throughout the day today that you have to cling on to in times like these. But right now, it's hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that thing that you're talking about clinging on to, President Trump, Governor Tim Walz, they had a phone call today that's being described as, quote, productive, trying to find some common ground between the two of them. You have more details on that call.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have the direct tweet from President Trump, which I believe that's the first we heard of the call. He said, Governor, this is coming from President Trump on Truth Social. He says, and I quote, Governor Tim Walz called me with the request to work together with respect to Minnesota. It was a very good call, and we actually seem to be on a similar wavelength. I told Governor Walz that I would have Tom Homan call him and that we are looking for any and all criminals that they have in their possession. The governor very respectfully understood that, and I will be speaking to him in the near future. He was happy that Tom Homan was going to Minnesota, and so am I. We have had a tremendous success in D.C., Memphis. He goes on basically just to kind of say that he had a good talk with Governor Walz, and I actually have Governor Walz's office released a statement earlier today as well. It says, quote, Governor Walz had a productive call with President Trump earlier today. The governor made the case that we need impartial investigations of the Minneapolis shootings involving federal agents and that we need to reduce the number of federal agents in Minnesota. The president agreed that he would talk to his Department of Homeland Security about ensuring the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is able to conduct an independent investigation, as would ordinarily be the case. The president also agreed to look into reducing the number of federal agents in Minnesota and working with the state in a more coordinated fashion on immigration enforcement regarding violent criminals. They go on to say the governor reminded President Trump that the Minnesota Department of Corrections already honors federal detainers by notifying Immigration and Customs Enforcement when a person committed to its custody isn't a U.S. citizen. There is not a single documented case of the department's releasing someone from the state prison without offering to ensure a smooth transfer of custody. End quote.
Yeah. And in that first tweet that you mentioned, President Trump, he mentions the name Tom Homan. If you at home don't know that name, he is the quote unquote border czar, and he'll be coming. And that's not a nickname that I'm giving him. That's a nickname that the government's given him. He'll be coming to Minnesota. I believe he's supposed to get here later today, if he's already here. But at some point today, he's going to be here, and it sounds like this is what Governor Walz wants, and so hopefully this is people can get some common ground here. But I suppose it's a good thing to hear that the White House and Governor Walz had a productive call today.
For sure, and both sides claimed that it was productive, and I think it's something to cling on to that I just read in that statement from Governor Walz's office, that they had a conversation about specifically reducing the number of federal agents, because I believe we saw from that court case earlier today, I think a number was released that it said over 3,000 or around 3,000 different federal agents, including something like 2,000 ICE officers in Minnesota right now. So obviously I think President Trump is seeing that, even a lot of his, votership and a lot of America is disapproving of the handling of this case. And hopefully this means that we can ease tensions here and try to get things back to normal as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the big news coming out of here. There was also more news from the White House. There was a White House press briefing with Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. We do have a snippet of that we may play during the show. It kind of depends on how some live press conferences and things kind of shake out. But more details on that, Max.
Yeah, for sure. She also mentioned these quote unquote borders kind of being the main point of contact on the ground in Minneapolis. I think he's going to be communicating directly with Donald Trump. This means also that Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino, who we've seen, he's been kind of the public face of ICE here in Minnesota. I believe that I saw from a report from CNN that he's going to be leaving MSP tomorrow. So in comes enter Tom Homan, exits one Gregory Bovino. Leavitt also went on to say that they asked her directly about Stephen Miller's comments on the protester, and I'm paraphrasing here. I don't have the direct quote. He said he referred to Alex Pretti as a domestic terrorist, and Leavitt said she had not heard the president classify or declare him in that way. She hadn't heard him refer to Alex Pretti in that way, which obviously marks a kind of a stark difference between what we heard. For sure. What we heard from Stephen Miller and what we heard from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem as well. So
yes,
like Adam said, we might have that. It's a part of that press conference that we'll play for you in full, but or at least try to play for you in full. But there was lots of questions that. Caroline Leavitt, with a K also. Caroline with a K, Leavitt answered about everything going on here in Minneapolis right now.
Yes. We may bring you a snippet of what Ms. Leavitt had to say during the 4 o'clock hour. It's a jam-packed 3 o'clock hour. Right in this very studio, about 3 hours ago, Senator Amy Klobuchar was here with our very own Fox 9 reporter Rob Olson. They sat down for a chat right here at this table. So we're going to be bringing that interview to you after the first commercial break. And then we got our buddy Mayor Patrick Hanlon from Hopkins. Usually it's all food trucks and fun and games when we have them on. Not this time. Yeah,
no, definitely not this time. But again, something to be hopeful about.
Sure.
He's got a positive update on some people from some citizens from Hopkins that were detained by ICE.
Yes. And then after him, Gus Parpas. If you all know the restaurant on Nicollet Avenue, right in Whittier, right where all this went down Saturday morning, Christos Greek restaurant. Gus owns that restaurant. You've been here. I've been here. Yeah. It's a great place.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, like you said, they're kind of in the center of the shooting of Alex Pretti over the weekend, and I just can't imagine what anybody in that community had to go through from Saturday onwards.
Yeah. We'll be talking to him, asking him about the restaurant and some of his staff and whatnot. So that's just the 3 o'clock hour, and then like Max and I have been kind of alluding to, there's a couple of live press conferences we'll be going to in the 4 o'clock hour, and some on tape as well. So we will be covering Alex Pretti, Renee Good, ICE, the whole situation. We've got you covered up until the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. So just stay right here with us. And we've got the senator coming on after this break.
Yeah, absolutely. Senator Amy Klobuchar sat down with Fox 9's own Rob Olson. We'll bring that to you in full coming up next on the afternoon show.
back just earlier this afternoon, right in this very studio. Fox 9's Rob Olson sat down with Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, for sure. And I believe we're going to bring that whole conversation in full right now.
Yes, absolutely. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, busy couple of days for you, heading back to D.C. tomorrow. There have been a growing, calls from the GOP side of the aisle now in Congress, some GOP governors, about a fair, transparent, thorough investigation. What do you see happening here?
I think there's a sea change going on, and what we knew was happening in Minnesota, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that this was getting out of hand. We have 3,000 ICE agents and only 1,100 sworn officers in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Our 10 metro police departments, there's more ICE agents here. And out of balance, resulting in horrific shootings, of course. 2 out of the 3 killings in Minnesota have been at the hands of in Minneapolis have been at the hands of federal agents. And so that's where we are. And what has happened with I would say the videos of the shooting of Alex Pretti, and people seeing at first it's confusing, but then when you see the enlargement of the videos with the fact that he was a lawful gun owner and that gun was in the holster and it was removed by federal agents and then he was shot in the back, those things are very chilling for the people of this country. So the pushback yesterday was intense. Finally, we had some Republican senators, House members, gun owners, the NRA, some local legislators saying enough. We need a transparent investigation, but a number of them saying this is not okay. Police chiefs in Minnesota and across the country. And I think that has gotten to a pitched level. So what we've been seeing for weeks has finally made it in a big way into the White House.
Had you been hearing any of that GOP concern prior to Saturday? Had it been starting to bubble up?
I had some discussions with Republican senators, so some of it was out there. But honestly, I think yesterday was the breaking point. And that has led, of course, to the president having a discussion with Governor Walz and, not doing a mean tweet coming out of it. And I actually have been talking to various people in the administration for weeks, as have a number of people, our police chiefs, the business community, obviously Chief O'Hara, and really pleading with them to say, stop this. And basically 3,000 ICE agents, get them out of here. They're not making us safe. They're making us less safe. Fraud investigation, please help with that. Apprehending violent offenders, yes, that is a worthy purpose for everyone. But that's not what this has turned into. So I'm hoping that this de-escalation will continue. We need them out of our towns. It's not just Minneapolis-St. Paul, suburbs, small towns.
Yeah, you mentioned the president having a conversation with Governor Walz. I believe you've been in touch with parts of the administration as well. And now the border czar, Tom Homan's being dispatched here. What does all this mean collectively then?
I hope, and this administration can change course very quickly, but I hope that this leads to a decision that while work will continue to be done on violent offenders and on fraud, that this huge number of ICE agents, some of whom are clearly not trained as our police officers are in Minnesota, that they simply leave our state.
You think that's actually nearing the potential outcome of that?
I hope so.
You don't know.
This is based on my discussions with Republicans yesterday and this morning, and certainly the police chiefs coming out statewide and nationally asking for a change and making very clear that they are concerned about the rule of law and following police procedures. That's got to, at some level, affect the president.
And if Tom Homan, the border czar, is coming here, that signals what?
Well, I don't agree with everything he does, but he is the boss of, clearly of the border control involvement in the shooting of Alex Pretti is going to be a major issue going forward. So I hope that he's coming here to de-escalate and to say we are going to listen to the police chiefs, listen to the business community, listen to elected leaders. And we have said enough is enough.
As a former prosecutor, Hennepin County Attorney, I want to get your take on this. When the head of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension discloses they were denied access to the scene, then got a signed warrant, and were still denied access to the scene. As a former prosecutor, how does that strike you?
Well, this is unbelievable to me because we have a very professional Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They have investigated heinous murders. They have investigated police-involved shootings before. They have investigated, sex rings, you name it. They are very good. And we have always been able to coordinate FBI, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, local county attorney's office, U.S. attorney, and for them to be denied access is just an unbelievable thing. I hope that will also change. I know that they are undergoing the investigation of this regardless. They want to get everything, not just the videos, and they have to turn those over. And part of this ICE problem of these untrained groups of officers just from other states that don't know our Minnesota roaming our streets is going to result in some very serious situations if they don't leave soon. It has already resulted in 2 deaths.
As you head back to Washington, another topic is, not supporting funding, continued funding for ICE, which brings concerns of maybe a partial government shutdown. I mean, what's the situation here?
Okay, so the important thing to know is we have had a number of bipartisan bills. So that if we can get, there's 5 bills, and if we can get these bills done, and which I support outside of ICE, then it would be a focus on ICE. And we've already funded the government through bipartisan bills, so it would not be, depending on how the Republicans want to handle this, some across-the-board shutdown. This discussion of our ability to represent our constituents and say, this has got to change. We want immigration enforcement. We want order at the border. But what we don't want is groups of basically thugs roaming our streets, not following the law, not wearing body cameras, ramming into people's houses without judicial warrants, picking up legal citizens, not getting the proper training. They're down to 47 days of training from 5 months. And then just too much money in their budget. They increased their budget. I voted against this by 3 times. They are now bigger than the FBI. They have $75 billion, and you can see the results of it with this surge. I would rather use that money for local law enforcement. Let's give this to the police officers in our state and help our state in other ways with health care and the like. We're always going to have immigration enforcement. We should. But the way it's being run now is just wrong.
So is that potential budget funding, could that lead to a dispute that might lead to?
So it could lead to a partial shutdown. It could lead to some agreement to make reforms. There's all kinds of outcomes here. But for us to just say, we're going to keep funding ICE at its current levels and let them keep doing this in the cities of America, even if they pull out of Minnesota, that's not good.
And lastly, I know you filed papers to potentially run for governor. I'm not going to ask you where your mind's at there because you'll make an announcement when you decide to make an announcement. But how has the events of recent days impacted that decision-making, maybe in terms of just a time frame in making a decision, or just some of the questions and things you have to consider?
Well, clearly, for me, I like my job now, but I love my state more. And so that's going into the timing of this. I clearly, right now, when we're dealing with this crisis in our state, you've got to put politics aside. But I am clearly, I filed papers. I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't interested in doing this, and so stay tuned.
Thank you. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, appreciate the time
Thank
today.
you.
All right.
Thank you, Rob Olson, for that tremendous interview happening right in the studio with Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Yeah, absolutely. Some highlights that just perked my ears up a little bit is, Amy Klobuchar just basically kind of reiterating what a lot of people in Minnesota are saying, that whatever the stated intent of ICE's presence here is, that's not the reality of what we're seeing. They're clearly not as trained as actual police officers or other federal agents. And she did say she's hopeful that we could possibly find a resolution and possibly get ICE out of the state or have their presence, significantly lessened here soon. And she said, "Stay tuned." At the end there about the whole governor bit. Stay tuned.
Yes, a little bit of a tease there.
We call it in the business.
Yes. She was also saying ICE's budget is bigger than the FBI's, which I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, that's something that I certainly did not know.
I was not aware of that.
3,000 ICE officers in the state of Minnesota, only 1,100 police officers between Minneapolis and St. Paul.
Yeah, that is just absolutely
3 times
absurd. Yeah, there's just no need for that. It's completely unnecessary, and I think we've seen the fruits of that already.
Yes. She, of course, also talking about Tom Homan, which we talked about earlier, and it sounded like she was hopeful that Homan is going to be able to de-escalate things as compared to Greg Bovino.
Yeah, and that echoes the sentiments that we saw from Governor Wall's office too, and from what President Trump was saying on Truth Social, is that it seems like Governor Wall seemed to be open to that idea too, and maybe. I don't know. I think I'm paraphrasing here. I think Donald Trump used the phrase "excited." I don't know about it. Excited is the word, but they both seem to be hopeful that possibly this could de-escalate things rather than continue to escalate things.
Yeah. If there's one thing that the people here need, it's just peace and just a little bit of calmness and a little bit of normalcy would be nice.
For sure, and just at least some type of deadline, some type of end date. I know they're going through, court proceedings right now to possibly temporarily suspend ICE operations and whatnot. But people want that right now. It feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. There's no saving. You can't see the island from the sea. It's right now. It feels like we're just lost at sea, and we don't know when anything is going to end. We don't know when anyone is going to leave. So it's. To have a deadline, to have a date, to have something to look forward to would be great.
Absolutely. Of course, ICE. I know we just focus on Minneapolis and we focus a little bit on St. Paul. It's not just those 2 cities. It's the entire. It's the entire state, but it's especially the metropolitan suburbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Suburbs like Hopkins included, and
Absolutely.
and we're touching on those stories as well. We got the mayor of Hopkins, Patrick Hanlon, coming on next to talk about ICE in his city.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked about it with him off the air. Like obviously ICE has a presence there, and a couple of people from Hopkins got detained. U.S. citizens got detained,
Yes.
and unfortunately they were taken away, but fortunately they were brought back, and due to the efforts of the people of Hopkins, it sounds like.
Yeah, 2 adults and 2 school-age children, all detained by ICE just last Thursday.
Wow.
Sent to Texas, and we believe they're back here in Minnesota. I know Mayor Hanlon will be able to confirm that, but we believe that they're back here. But I mean, just in the case of these 4 people, how many hundreds more are just like them that we don't know the status of.
Right, and we don't know where they're at. Some people we still don't know exactly where they're at or what conditions they're living in. We always hear about when they get taken away, but we don't necessarily hear about where they are and what the living conditions are and where they end up. So we're really lucky as a state to have these 2 Hopkins residents back, and I know Mayor Hovland he's pretty fired up about it.
Yes, absolutely. I got to even say, just to share a personal anecdote. On Saturday, I was walking, had no intention to buy anything, so normally I don't bring my wallet when I do these things. But with everything happening and things are like you said, you can't escape it. It's all in the back of your head. I was like, I better bring my driver's license. Just in case something, just in case I need to show ID or anything, because you just don't. That's the times that we're living in Minneapolis right now. That's reality. That's not a movie.
No,
that's real.
That's real, and that's a lot of we've seen a lot of American U.S. citizens, whether they're naturalized or immigrated here or whatever, U.S. citizens being taken away and being questioned and being assaulted and being killed. And so it's even people like me and you that we think, I think a lot of people think, oh, I'm good. I'm from here. That's not a prerequisite for these stops. That's not a prerequisite for this aggression that we're seeing. So it's scary to everybody, like we even seen it, like, not to be crude, but and crass, but the 2 people that, Renee and Alex that both died, they're white people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's there is no precursor for or
it knows no color.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's affecting literally everybody of all races, religions, creeds, and economic status. So it's a shame that anybody is feeling that way, but everybody is feeling that way. Literally every single person right now feels unsafe, unsure, confused, and is just looking over their shoulder, and it's not a way for anybody to live.
Absolutely. Mayor Patrick Hanlon of the city of Hopkins, Minnesota, coming up next to tell us all about this story and an update on how his city is doing. If you've been hearing stories about ICE's detainment, not just of singular people, but of entire families, and just kind of think, oh, they might be one-off cases here and there, we're about to share a story with you. These are not one-off. This is happening all across the Twin Cities.
Yeah, like we've been saying, the ripple effects are being felt not just in Minneapolis and St. Paul, but across the suburbs, rural areas, everybody in the Twin Cities.
Yep. There's a story of this that happened in Hopkins, which is a suburb of Minneapolis in Hennepin County. We are here with the mayor of Hopkins, Mayor Patrick Hanlon. Mayor Patrick, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Not too bad. How are you guys doing? Good to see you again.
It's good to see you. Hey, can you tell us about this story about this family that was detained by ICE on Thursday and is now back?
Yeah, the last time we met, it was pretty somber. It's still pretty somber around Minneapolis and Minnesota, right? But I have some happy news. This is good news. Is we had a family that was taken, and father, wife, 2 kids. I heard about it right away as soon as they were taken from folks at the school, families. The employer of the father called me up and asked me if there's something I can do, and everyone was really distraught that they were just taken out of their house and had the kids taken out of the house too. And luckily, we had a local attorney, Laura Matson, who heard of the case. She's a civil attorney and followed up on it. And by the time she got to it, or as she was working through it, the DHS had her name plastered, the wife's name plastered on the site as the worst of the worst. and for theft. And so she went through and did a full records research and looked through Ecuador, through the United States, and there was no records of her that in their search of her being a criminal. In fact, she was part of a crime and being robbed, actually. And so they went through the process of filing, I don't know all the legal terms, but filing a habeas petition to get the family back. And by that time that petition went through, they were already down in Texas. And so they got a court order to get them back to Minnesota. And last night, the family, 2:30 in the morning, they kind of just like push him out of the Whipple building and hope that someone's there to pick them up, and from my understanding, without anything like their phones or anything like that. So luckily there's some amazing groups that are out there and that are organized, and we had folks here that were aware they were going to be coming out. So they were there, picked them up, and they got them back home. They are obviously exhausted. We had talked about I don't think they need any more attention right now. So we talked about just having me come on and tell their story. But yeah, really concerning that's going on. And I mean, I've got cases of, I've got a young Somali woman. Actually, she's not Somali. She's a United States citizen, born here, the same as I am. And she's been pulled over 3 times since these guys have been here, just because of how she looks. And so, really disregarding her constitutional rights as she's walking around. And, I can't imagine a hockey mom from Maple Grove putting up with that kind of treatment. And that's not any shade on hockey moms from Maple Grove. They're also I hear a lot of stories from around the state, and there's a lot of people that are doing some amazing work around organizing in their own communities and doing food drives and making sure that people, even U.S. citizens who are here legally, are terrified to leave their houses. And there are people that are going out, making sure that people have safe trips to work and to school. So there's some amazing stories. There's some beauty around all this as well, of how Minnesota is really coming together, and it's really cool. It's unfortunate, but it's really cool to see that part of our state as well as Minnesotans and as Americans.
For sure, we've been talking about that. There is no silver lining to any of this stuff, but if there was one, it is to just see all the Minnesotans from all different walks of life coming together to support one another. Now we hear kind of stories about this, and obviously we want to have the people remain anonymous, like you said, to just they have enough attention, they got enough going on. But I think it helps to humanize these stories. Can you just tell us a little bit about the people that were taken away and brought back? And because to my understanding, there was a pretty strong response from the community in Hopkins.
I mean, like I said, his boss called right away. He's the father. That he's a great guy at work. In fact, our Hopkins Police Department recently recognized him for going out and during some of the snowstorms, free of charge, he was going out and helping people get their cars unstuck. The Hopkins police would just call him up, and he'd help bring his equipment out, and he'd help get them unstuck. And so they had just recognized him recently for that work. The kids, the principal reached out to me, right? I mean, it was within minutes of them leaving that the community was feeling their loss. So we were connected people in this community and well loved in this community. And so we're just really happy to have them back. There's one thing I want to say too in this is is just to say that there's a role that ICE plays. For decades, our police departments, I've been meeting with our metro area police chiefs, mayors, and city managers, and there's an important role that ICE plays as an organization. Not like this. This is not how they've ever acted and behaved, and it's really an erosion of trust in that department that's going to take a long time to rebuild if they don't change the way their culture and make some serious changes and some reflection. I mean, you could see it in with the Alex Pretti case of trying to tell us some lies about things that we clearly see on TV and in video, and every major outlet is saying is not true of how that they're reporting that. So I just want to say that they have a role to play, but not like this.
Mayor Patrick, can you unpack that maybe a little bit more? I think there's a lot of people that think that ICE is a relatively new agency, and it's not. Like you said, it's been around for decades. Can you tell us in the ideal world, what role should ICE be playing if everything is going swimmingly and according to plan?
Yeah, I mean, I like to reach across the, people from different political viewpoints, and I do not think this is a partisan issue. If you talk to folks, everyone agrees that we should have a regulated border. This BS about, that Democrats want an open border, and then to go to the other extreme, I don't think that the Republicans want this type of enforcement. You talk to a lot of Republicans, and they're like, yeah, I want a fast track for people that are hardworking, that are roofers, that are back of the kitchen workers at our restaurants, that are keeping our local economy going. I mean, you've seen a lot of places shut down on the construction side, on the restaurant side. And on that end of things, they're like, yeah, I want a fast track for these hardworking people in our community, not this. This is not what, and especially going after people that have gone through that process and pulling them over, smashing into their cars and doing the things that they're doing. And then, getting criminals out of here. One of the first things that ICE did when they came here was they transferred a bunch of criminals that we already had in our prisons and shifted them over to ICE, and then they claim credit for taking them. But I think those are the, people that are committing serious crimes. I think we can all agree we don't want them in our community, but that's not what's going on here. When you look into, I'm sure that they've caught some of those, but at what cost? And we work with federal agencies. When I say we, I mean our city police departments work with federal agencies on a regular basis to catch criminals. And so if that's what we're going after, if you put those kinds of tools into local law enforcement and relationships with local law enforcement to do that, we can do that. But our police chiefs met with these guys and they gave them no information. I mean, the way that they're going about their business was very intentional in how they came into our state.
Patrick, I know you probably got your hands full, but I'm assuming that you've heard from other local leaders around the state. What have you heard from other local leaders about ICE enforcements and ICE operations in their areas?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's that. I mean, I meet with people who come from all spectrums, all political spectrums, and I don't think anyone's happy. In fact, I went into a room full of regional council and mayors meetings, and I thought it was going to be kind of a battle, and everyone was on the same page that it feels like this dystopian, these masked guys that are going around, and you saw with Alex Pretti, I mean, it looks like that was not well-trained law enforcement. They're punching him with guns, and we're unable to even simply restrain him with 6 officers right there. I mean, it's and I'm not trying to make that judgment, but I am taking the judgment of people that do know law enforcement, and they are beside themselves. And I think our mayors from all sorts of cities are beside themselves. And I keep saying it's not a blue or red thing. It's how much experience you have with these folks in your community in the way that they're acting right now. And that's the more experience people have with the way that these guys are acting in their community, the more that they want them to have a reset, get out of the state for a while and reset your culture before you come back here.
Yeah. Mayor Patrick, the family that is now back home in Hopkins, does this open up the door for more detainees to return home potentially?
I mean, as happy as this story is for us right now, I think it's a one-off. It was the full-blown effort of a local attorney in her practice and being able to get this. I think hopefully she's getting a good night's rest tonight because she worked her tail off on this one case. And so I think there's a lot of people that are slipping through the cracks that should not have been detained and should not have been leaving this country or wherever they're going. I don't know if they're going to these other facilities around the U.S. or where they're going.
Yeah, I mean, and like we talked about earlier, there's all types of Minnesotans helping Minnesotans, and I would assume that you're privy to all types of stuff going around. If people are watching this right now and want to help, how can people help?
Well, I mean, that's been the beautiful thing, right? I mean, I just talked to a local real estate agency, and they're talking about doing a food drive. They raised the advisory group here in Hopkins. Redbird Wellness is offering free chiropractic services to folks, and that they can help out. Everywhere you go, people are like, "These are my skills, and how can I help out?" I can, I don't know if I can get you some links, but we have some Hopkins resources that we posted on our site. I know every city is kind of posting resources for where to get, if you want to make food donations, if you want to make, other donations. Our ICA food shelf here in Hopkins is a way to get resources out, not only for food, but they also do rental assistance. That is a tidal wave that's coming down the line for our economy too. I think we're going to see a lot of people not be able to pay their rents because they're not being able to get to work. So I think that's something that a lot of mayors are talking about right now. And a lot of, people at Cheryl Joachim was just talking about it, our state rep. How do we get people rental assistance? So I think that I can send you some links if you're able to share it. But I know if you go to your own city, folks should find places to be able to get resources out.
Mayor Patrick Hanlon of the city of Hopkins. Mayor Patrick, we appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks for getting the word out on all this.
Thanks. Like the mayor said, and we were kind of talking about it before, it's great that this one family is back together, but how many hundreds have fallen through the cracks here?
Yeah, and hopefully we can get all those people back for real. That are it's just a shame. It's just honestly, all this stuff is just a shame that people are having to go through this. But shout out to that story was really evocative, just because that's what's happening right now. It's an individual effort and a community effort. I took that one person, that one attorney, to just be like, no, we're getting this family back, and she got him back. And that's just, it's not, no offense to the mayor, it's not people like him, it's not political leaders right now. It's community leaders. It's regular people that are assisting other Minnesotans and helping us get out of this rut and pull each other up out of this rut.
Yeah, really,
I just want to jump in with one thing
Yes.
that stuck with me. Mayor Patrick Hanlon mentioned that family were sent out of the Whipple building at 2:30 in the morning last night.
And that's been consistent with what other witnesses and what other people that have gone through it have said, is that they're kind of just like
middle of the night, freezing cold.
Yeah, I've heard some people even that they wrongfully detained, that they just and this is all allegedly, obviously, that dropping people off in the middle of the woods, no phones, no anything. They don't really care. And luckily there is lots
No
of those,
coat, probably.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not trying to say that is the coldest part of the night.
Yeah,
2:30 in the morning.
It's inhumane, and luckily there are lots of groups out there that are 24/7 vigilant. They're out there waiting for people to be released in this kind of fashion, so they can help try to guide them back to where they need to be.
Yeah.
And just the thing that sticks with me, and it stuck with me from the press conference that we actually took the other day, or played back part of it the other day, when Gregory Bovino said, "What we do is legal, ethical, and moral, well grounded in law." And I don't know what other people's interpretation of moral is, but at 2:30 in the morning, sending a family out with no phone, no way to get home in this weather, there's no question that's an unmoral behavior.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it won't.
100%.
Will not catch any. Yes, 100%. Yeah. So, well, on Saturday, during the shooting of Alex, that happened right next to Christos Greek restaurant on Nicollet Avenue, a restaurant that we all love and adore, and we're going to be joined by the owner coming up next.
Yeah, for sure. Just talking about the impact on the community and how the community's been responding in the days following.
Yes, more on that. Max, Minneapolis, lived your whole life here. I've learned that this is a city of neighborhoods and people and community, and the neighborhoods really make up this city's fabric.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just every neighborhood. I mean, Minnesota in general is just a close knit state, and every neighborhood is kind of just becomes part of your personality. You know, it becomes something like a badge of honor. It's like, hey man, I'm over by Laura Park. I'm over by Whittier. I'm over north. I'm over south. It just becomes a part of your personality, part of your identity, and every neighborhood and community has its own kind of unique sense of self, and it's part of being a Minnesota. It's one of the beautiful parts of being a Minnesotan is that we all have our own kind of unique sense of self based on where we live, but it's also that all comes together and becomes a conglomerate at the same time.
Yeah, I know the people in the neighborhood of Whittier are really struggling right now with the events that took place on Saturday morning. And this, it's not just the residents there; it's the business owners and all the other people that go to Whittier on a daily basis.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we've been talking about. It affects literally everybody, all the way down to kids and animals in our community.
That's right. One person that this has affected is the restaurant Christos Greek Restaurant in Minneapolis on Nicollet Avenue. The owner, Gus Parpus, is with us now. Mr. Parpus, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine.
Thank you for joining us. I know that this is a difficult time for you all. On Saturday, this shooting went down just a block away from where you all are at. Can you walk us through Saturday morning from your perspective? When did you first learn of the news and whatnot?
Well, I wasn't even here at the time. I don't usually get in until 10:30, but it was. I was told that there was crowds gathering because of the presence of ICE, and things progressed from there.
Gus, what has kind of been, from what you've seen, what has been the community's response, following the shooting of Alex Pretti? What have you been feeling? What have you been hearing, and what have the people of Whittier been feeling and saying?
Well, this is an amazing community, very, very tough community, very resilient, and they've come together amazingly well. As you could see, they show up whenever they need it to protest the presence of ICE and to make it known that they're not going to stand for this kind of treatment. It's an amazing community, and they're all working together. They're all supporting each other. It's something to behold.
Yeah. Gus, can you talk about your restaurant? I'm assuming Saturday and Sunday you all were probably closed. What kind of led to how hard was it to make that decision?
Not hard at all. It's we had already closed on Friday. In solidarity with our neighbors here. We've been here for 28 years, and so we went along with the general strike. Then, of course, on Saturday, the killing took place only about 30 feet, 40 feet away from our front door. And at that point, if for no other reason, out of respect for the fallen protester, we had to close.
Gus, just outside of Saturday, what has the last 2 weeks and some change been like for the people of Whittier and for you guys at Christos?
It's been a very unusual time. You have employees who are afraid to come out. They're afraid to go grocery shopping. They're afraid to drive. So it's been very difficult. But the community is amazing, as I said, and so they grocery shop for people. And I'm talking about immigrants, legal, documented or not, because of the way the ICE is approaching this thing. So yeah, people grocery shop for them. They pick them up, they drop them off. They provide whatever help they need to help them get through it.
Gus, can you talk about Christos? Are you guys back open today? How can people go support the restaurant?
We are open again today, and we've received amazing support from all of our customers. Emails, voicemails, Facebook posts, all of that. It's been amazing. So, but yes, we've opened and they all want to come. And we had already today a very, very busy day. Everybody wants to know about this. And we have reporters, so we have photographers, we have all kinds of people who are coming in wanting to know how we're dealing with all of this.
Gus, well, we appreciate you taking some time out of your day to share your story with us, and especially being so fresh and so new. And I know the people of Whittier are hurting right now, so we appreciate you sharing your story. And stay safe out there, and good luck.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Good to hear that they were busy today.
Yeah.
I hate it for these businesses, especially is it Glam Doll Donuts? That's the one that kind of kept getting reported.
Yeah.
Where the shooting literally took place right outside that building. It's just really sad.
Support the immigrant businesses, man. Support your Minnesota neighbors right now. They need it more than ever right now. So
for sure. That was Gus Parpis from Christos, Minneapolis. We're about to hit 4 o'clock here. There is a press conference, Max, taking place at the University of Minnesota by leaders at the university. A Space for Reflections is the title of it. We're going to be hearing from them to their thoughts on everything that's been kind of going on right now.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that there was a big student walkout at the U of M.
That's right.
That happened earlier this afternoon. So on tails of that, they got some community leaders ready to speak on it and everything that's happening.
That's right. We're going to have some live images and pictures from the University of Minnesota coming up right after this break. press conference to begin at the University of Minnesota with leaders there. But first, Max, you were there in Whittier on Saturday morning.
I was not in the immediate aftermath of the shooting and killing of Alex Pretti, but I was there, a couple of hours afterwards. I know in the immediate aftermath there were some chemical irritants and whatnot that were deployed. Fortunately, I was able to miss that, but I did show up there. Listen, man, I live in Minneapolis. It's happening in my backyard. Sure. This is the defining moment of Minnesota history, and unfortunately, another Minnesotan lost their lives. And like, I gotta go there and see this with my own eyes, man. I gotta be there, and I gotta be a part of this. And it was hard to be there. It was heavy, just in the air. You just knowing that somebody's life was taken in that exact area just a few hours before, and there was a lot of people there that were just mourning, burning sage where it happened. And I didn't see any ICE agents. I hardly saw any police officers or anything. The streets, pretty much every possible way to get into Whittier was blocked off, and it was all just regular people and some select media that was there. But from what I saw, man, it was all peaceful. There was a lot of people gathered, and obviously people have a lot of strong feelings, and there's a lot of strong words being said. That's how people are feeling right now. It's human to feel anger and confusion and sadness right now, but it was all peaceful. Everybody was respectful to one another, and it was a release for a lot of people. And there's a lot of frustration going on, like I was saying, not just with the killing, just the handling of it, and people feel like there's a lack of response from local media. There's a lack of response from local leaders and the leaders that we see, going on CNN and doing interviews and whatnot. A lot of people want their leaders there and on the front lines, and a lot of people feel like they're not being represented and their voice isn't being heard right now. And like we said, people are just, when does it end? You wake up on Saturday morning and it's a nightmare when you read that news, and you can't believe that it's happening again. And it's just as heinous as the last one, and somehow possibly even more. And you don't compare; they're all heinous equally. You know what I'm saying? But you watch it and you just have this sick stomach, this sick feeling in your stomach. And I know there was a vigil at Whittier Park, and again, from what I heard, just completely all peaceful and different people from different walks of life. I know we talked to a historian about it, that we didn't have a chance to air it because of everything that was happening. But he said, just, man, this is the most diverse movement he had ever seen. And I got to echo those sentiments, man. I saw young people there, old people there, walking step in step. I saw Christians, Jewish people, Muslim, all praying for the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Black people, white people, Asian people, Latinos, Native Americans, all voicing their opinions in unison. Like it's everyone coming together. It's not Democrat and Republican. It's bipartisan. It's just a Minnesota thing, and Minnesotans are fed up, and they're tired of seeing their fellow Minnesotans get, racially profiled and get beat up and get assaulted and get berated, even if it's just verbally, and seeing children get caught in the crossfire, and of course people losing their life, people having their life, the whole trajectory of their life altered because of what? Because of racial profiling. Because we just heard from the mayor about a family that's something that those kids are going to remember forever. That's something that's going to haunt that family forever. I'm sure every single time they get a knock on the door now, they're always going to think about that, at least in the back of their heads. This is stuff that we're going to be dealing with psychologically and emotionally for years to come after ISIS presence even is reduced here in the Twin Cities. So yeah, I had to go out there and be a part of everything for myself, because I felt compelled to. And I know as media people we're probably not supposed to say that, but I also think that this is right and wrong. It's not a question of journalistic objectivity, and I think a lot of people feel let down by that, because we're seeing things that we're with our own eyes. That's unquestionable. And then there's people telling us that's not what we're seeing, or that we're supposed to say, well, we don't know if that's what no, we all saw it. We all saw it with our own eyes, and I'm not going to act like I didn't see it, and I'm not going to, act like it didn't go down the way that it went down. And it's a damn shame, and a lot of people are feeling a lot of frustration right now, and protest is one of those ways that, that's how America was formed,
Yep.
and that's one of those ways that humans just in general, all across the world, all across time, have always found a way to voice our opinion and express ourselves. And so, again, in that regard, the struggle can be a beautiful thing, like the mayor was saying, is seeing all these people come together, but it's obviously for tragic reasons.
Yeah. Can you describe maybe some of the sights and just smells of being there? Because I know a lot of people don't have the opportunity to go, or maybe they just they kind of stay away from that kind of thing.
Sure.
What's it like? Actually?
I mean, you're hearing all different types of people, chanting in unison. There's music being played. There's people on megaphones, kind of, I don't want to use the term soapbox in a derogatory way, but in the literal sense, where everybody's kind of just taking a turn, verbalizing their opinion. It was something that I kind of noticed that's very modern, in the sense where, I don't know, at least I wasn't there when Dr. King and those guys were speaking and doing their thing, but it seemed like it was, this public leader is going to do this and then speak in this public, whereas now it's a people's movement. It's more like when you scroll on Twitter, where it's not, you might hear someone that gets on the megaphone that they're not, the most smooth with their diction and the way that they're saying things, but it's real, it's raw, it's how people are feeling right now, and it's not a movement of like, this leader leads us here and that leader. It's everybody together equally, communally, and that's kind of the beautiful part of it. But it's very raw. A lot of smells of sage, a lot of sounds from the megaphone, and music and chants, and also just joy. There's people handing out hand warmers. There's people handing out water. There's people making sure everybody's okay, watching over everything, and sometimes you even just hear regular conversation. I heard someone talking about former Vikings coach Mike Tice. It's just like there is. I'm not the first person to say, but joy it can be revolutionary as well. And there is a sense of joy and pride as well. But obviously, in the immediate aftermath, it was more so mourning. It was somber. It was a lot of sadness. It was a lot of remembrance and solidarity, just with the community and with Alex Pretti and his family.
Well, let's hear more from that a little bit later. Right now, we have the president of the University of Minnesota, Rebecca Cunningham. Let's listen in to President Cunningham.
Sad, angry, and confused. I share all those feelings, and I take them very seriously. I've been listening deeply to you, and I hear you. Your safety, both on and around our campuses, both physical and emotional, is my priority. While we cannot solve all of the problems that need solving, there is so much we can do, especially when we work together. All across the University of Minnesota, we are leaning into our shared values of inclusion, community, belonging, and working towards safety. You can count on my leadership team and I to continue providing spaces like this to bring people together and to hold space for all of these emotions, for developing security protocols, for offering flexible learning accommodations to support our students in this moment, communicating what we know and what we don't know, what we can control and what we can't control, so that you have information and resources to support your safety and your well-being. We ask for care for one another and a commitment to seek understanding and healing. Our shared path forward across our city and state prioritizes safety, dignity, and a respect for the people who call Minnesota home. You can also count on us to honor the legacy of Alex Jeffrey Pretti by living as he did, caring for this community. I invite all of us gathered here today to join in this effort. As an alumni, Alex was one of our own. As a 2011 graduate of the university's College of Liberal Arts, he worked as a nurse and lived out the ideals of his profession, caring and advocating for others up until the moment he died. What we're experiencing now is not normal. Violence in our streets is never acceptable. I join others in the call for de-escalation, transparency, and prioritizing humanity, safety, and dignity for all. Whatever it is you're feeling now, all the emotions, they are welcome here. And when you have these emotions, remember you are not alone. Your university community is right here with you. When you don't have the strength, lean into this large community of fellow students, staff, and faculty. Together, we are strong. We are resilient, and we will get through this together. I am so proud of the ways that I see our students, faculty, and staff stepping up to help each other, organizing rides, donating food, checking in on one another. This is the showing of community is who we are. Together as one university in Minnesota, we can be a light in this very dark time, living out our values to improve lives in our communities and throughout Minnesota, the nation, and the world. I now invite Provost Ritter.
Thank you, President Cunningham. Times of crisis or challenge are when we learn things about ourselves and about the communities that we come from. Watching what is happening in our community and our state, I feel a swirl of emotions and reactions, and I have heard similar reactions from many of you about the desire to be strong, to be safe, to be just, about feeling sad and scared and discouraged about the things we cannot change. So many of us feel stunned. I find myself trying to make sense of things I never imagined would happen in this country. So many of us are grieving for lives that have been lost or disrupted, for equanimity that has been shattered, and for values that have been trampled. There are times in the midst of this when it can feel hard to breathe. Alex Pretti was a graduate of Biology, Society, and Environment, a program in the College of Liberal Arts, a program that attracts students like Alex who seek careers in healthcare and that teaches students to understand human health in the broader context of society and the environment. It is a program for those who aspire to the greater purpose of serving others. By all accounts, Alex expressed these values every day and excelled at his work as an ICU nurse caring for our nation's veterans. We extend our deepest sympathies to Alex's family, friends, colleagues, and patients. And so we ask, in this challenging, difficult moment, how do we make sense of things? How do we ground ourselves in who we are and the communities we come from? This is a moment to choose strength, not the strength of anger or despair, but the strength, resilience, and integrity we find in kinship and in shared values. This is a moment to reaffirm our commitment to kindness, yes, especially kindness, to truth, to civic engagement, to the First Amendment, and to peaceful participation that aspires to unity and advancing the common good. How do we seek truth? We seek the truth by returning to the values of a liberal arts and sciences education, the kind of education that inspired Alex to pursue a life of purpose. We seek truth by examining and weighing evidence, by evaluating information for reliability, by looking at context to understand broader meanings, by being critically self-aware of the biases we bring when we receive information, and by exploring diverse perspectives and viewpoints. And how do we honor civic engagement that welcomes and considers the voices of others? In a time of deep polarization, when so many alarming things are happening, listening can be hard. Engagement can feel risky or uncomfortable, but our commitment as members of a diverse community to the common good is not optional. It's essential. It's foundational. We will move forward while remembering our shared values. In the words of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. In this moment of challenge and grief, we find our way forward in kinship by remembering who we are and what we stand for, by committing ourselves to truth, to each other, to civic engagement, to shared values, and to seeking the common good. Thank you all for coming together today. And now I welcome Dean Connie Delaney.
As an ICU nurse at the Minneapolis Veterans Affairs healthcare system, Alex Pretti embodied everything we strive for in our profession. Intensive care unit nurses stand with patients and their families when they are the most vulnerable. ICU nurses are making critical decisions within teams and offering profound human comfort. The ICU is a place where during every single shift, the worth of human life and the urgent need for advocacy become deeply real. And Alex's care extended beyond his patients. He gave more of himself by mentoring colleagues and helping educate the next generation of nurses. This next generation of nurses included some of our Baccalaureate of Science in Nursing students, where he served as a clinical preceptor. He was highly regarded by students. He was highly regarded for his ability to gently coach them out of their comfort zone and encourage them to try new skills while knowing all the time he was right there for them. Eric's life echoed the principles that actually founded the School of Nursing at the University of Minnesota more than 115 years ago. Help society recognize the worth of human life, conserve human health, and provide for social justice. Alex clearly lived these principles, standing for justice and selflessly coming to the aid of those in need. The nursing community in Minnesota, around the country, and around the world profoundly feels Alex's loss. The more than 5 million nurses in the United States and 30 million globally recognize that caring for others often extends beyond the clinical walls. Caring for others often reaches into every corner of society. They recognize that caring for others may require advocating for those who are vulnerable and without voice. It is nurses who are often called to step up and lead when systemic failures bring overdue attention to inequalities. Alex answered that call. He answered that call with his spirit and his life. Saturday night, across our state, neighbors gathered with candles to honor Alex. The flickering candles that night and at his gathering today symbolize an enduring spirit of care, hope, and unwavering commitment to humanity. Alex and all nurses carry this commitment. Let us continue to recognize the worth of every human life, work tirelessly for health, and relentlessly pursue social justice with courage, compassion, and a spirit of oneness. We can and we must continue to lead with love. Alex's light can help guide us. I invite Mary Jo Kreitzer.
You've heard others speak this afternoon about trauma, and likely everyone impacted by events over the last few weeks is experiencing trauma, and it's important to acknowledge that. I want to say a few words this afternoon about getting through this crisis and healing as a community. When you hear the word healing, you might be picturing something deeply personal. One person, one body, one heart. And that's important. But healing is also communal. It happens between us, among us, and because of us. Right now, our university community and communities across the state are tired. We are beyond weary. We're carrying the weight of loss, division, uncertainty, anger, fear, and chaos. And yet, here we are. Still showing up, still caring, still hoping. That in itself is resilience. Resilience is not about being unbreakable. It's about being bendable. It's about how we respond when life bends us, how we repair, reconnect, and reimagine together. Healing communities begins with belonging. People heal best when they feel seen, heard, and valued. A resilient community is not one without problems. It's one where people know that they matter to each other, where differences are held with curiosity instead of fear, and where no one has to suffer alone. One of the most powerful healing forces we have is connection, simple human connection, listening without fixing, showing up without judgment, creating spaces, formal or informal, where stories can be shared and emotions can be named. When we listen to each other's stories, we don't exchange information, we exchange humanity. Resilience also grows when we shift from asking, what's wrong with this community, to what's strong here? Our communities in Minnesota have assets, wisdom, culture, creativity, compassion, energy that emerge in times of stress. Healing doesn't mean ignoring pain. It means recognizing strength alongside the pain. Healing communities also requires hope with action. Hope is not passive. It's built through small, consistent acts of kindness and courage. A neighbor checking in, bringing food to people who are afraid to leave their homes, monitoring our neighborhoods, escorting children to and from school, handling difficult conversations with respect, and having systems that prioritize dignity and equity. These actions accumulate, and they matter. We also need to make room for grief. Healing doesn't ask us to rush through loss or pretend everything is fine, because it clearly is not. Resilient communities honor grief as a natural response to loss and hardship. When grief is acknowledged, it softens. When it's ignored, it hardens. Finally, healing communities requires us to remember that we belong to one another, not because we are the same, but because we are connected. Our well-being is intertwined. When one part of the community hurts, the whole community feels it. And when one part begins to heal, hope ripples outward. So the question isn't, can our communities heal? The question is, how can we heal together? We can do this by listening deeply, caring boldly, resting when needed, lifting up what's strong, and by remembering that community resilience lives not in any one of us, but in all of us. I invite you to take a moment, wherever you are, and join me in a brief reflection. If it feels comfortable, place both of your feet on the floor and take a deep breath in and an easy breath out. Now bring to mind a community you care about. It might be the university, your family, workplace, your neighborhood, a faith community, or even a group that you haven't met yet but feel connected to. As you hold that community in your awareness, gently ask yourself, what is this community carrying now? Not to fix it, just to notice. What is this community carrying now? Take another deep breath and now ask, what is one strength this community has even in the midst of this unimaginable challenge? It might be a quality like kindness, perseverance, creativity, or care. Let that strength settle in. And finally, consider this question. What is one small way you can contribute to healing and resilience in this community? It doesn't need to be big, just real. Take one more breath in and slowly let it out. And when you are ready, bring your attention back to the room, carrying with you whatever you felt meaningful.
Thank you, Mary Jo, and thank you to all of our speakers. And thank you to everyone who's here today. I am grateful that we were able to come together, even for a brief time, to pause, to step away, if only momentarily, from the overwhelm of life, the weight of responsibilities, decisions, expectations, and the constant stream of news and images that surround us and can be heavy and unrelenting. Our nervous systems were not designed to carry the psychological weight of the world as it exists today, especially not alone. When the load becomes too heavy, our bodies do what they can to protect us. We may shut down, we may disengage, we may begin to normalize what is happening around us, even when it is painful or frightening. In those moments, our ability to make sense of the world can narrow, and it can become harder to stay connected to ourselves and to one another. Today we gather in that reality. We gather because loss has touched our community and because grief often brings many emotions, as Mary Jo mentioned, all at once. Sadness, anger, confusion, love, and so many questions without easy answers. Together we can create space to acknowledge fear and anger and vulnerability. Together we can slow down long enough to notice what is true for us without judgment or expectation. And together we can begin to move forward, courage, not the absence of fear, but the courage that grows from connection, care, and being seen. Thank you.
You just heard from leaders at the University of Minnesota, including President Rebecca Cunningham, of course, Alex Pretti. He was a 2011 graduate of the University of Minnesota.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So obviously, I'm assuming some people that were speaking there know him, or know people that know him. So it's literally it's impacting everybody.
Yeah, you heard a number of people within the School of Nursing there. That's where he graduated from. Obviously, if you haven't read much on his story, he was a nurse at the VA hospital in town, and a graduate of U of M as well. So it's just past 4:30. I believe we are going to take a commercial break. Paul, let's bring you into the conversation. Maybe we can get some control.
Yeah,
here.
One thing I've been keeping an eye on is we've been getting a live feed in from Wisconsin. They're holding a vigil in the name of Alex Pretti and Renee Good and other families that have been affected by the ice surge that's been taking place here in Minnesota. It is taking place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, but they are talking about Minnesota, so I do think that it's kind of important that we stay across it and have a look. Why don't we just take a little bit, we'll dip in, we'll have a listen, see what's happening there and see how much longer is left on it before we get back to some of those other clips we discussed that we'd like to bring you before the end of the hour. So
For sure.
Let me just bring it up and see what we can hear.
Sounds good. This is... Yep. We're taking you... These are live pictures from an interfaith reflection in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Families who have long lived, worked, worshipped, and raised communities and children among us, and whose fear today is not theoretical but practical, deep, and real. In this moment, this pain is not confined to one community. We have seen Hmong families pulled from their homes without time to gather clothes. We have heard of Native and Indigenous people who have gone missing. We know that Black, brown, immigrant, and poor lives alike are caught up in a tragic tide of enforcement and fear. It really is a tragic reverse rainbow coalition, not born of hope but bound together by suffering, state power, and the pain of the vulnerable. To help us see more clearly what this moment demands, we turn to words that lie at the heart of what this nation is supposed to be, which said, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." These are not merely poetic, but they describe a posture of welcome and love and commitment to dignity, a promise of refuge. They were meant to remind us that when human beings journey here in search of safety and life, we do not turn them away, we embrace them. We do not treat them as threats, we see them as neighbors. Our faith gives us language that's even sharper than this. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus said, "Whatever you have done for the least of these brothers and sisters, you have also done to me." He marked out the sick, the thirsty, the hungry, even those who are incarcerated. So even to throw up the label of criminality is insufficient for us to turn towards inhumanity. In our faith, no one loses their humanity because of where they are born, what papers they carry, or how the state chooses to label them. No one forfeits their dignity because they are feared, foreign, or forgotten. And the prophet Micah speaks clearly with this, with great clarity. For all of us, what does the Lord require of you but to do justice and to love mercy and to walk humbly with our God? Justice is not an abstraction. Mercy is not weakness. Humility is not silence in the face of harm. It's quite the opposite. We don't gather because justice has already been done. We gather because we need justice. We gather because justice is being sought, We do not gather because pain is isolated. We gather because our pain is shared. And in the face of fear, we choose faith. In the face of cruelty, we choose compassion. In the face of silence, we choose to pray and to stand and to watch and to fight together. Let us pray. God of mercy and compassion, hear the cries of the weary, the frightened, the frustrated, the disillusioned, the displaced. Comfort the grieving, protect the vulnerable, strengthen those who stand for what is right, strengthen those who stand in front of those who are not able to stand and speak for themselves. Give us the courage to do justice, the tenderness to love mercy, and the humility to walk faithfully with you, our God, together. Amen. Amen.
My name is the Reverend Jill Braithwaite. I use she, her pronouns, and I bring love to you from the people of Unitarian Universalist Church West in Brookfield, where I serve as minister. UU Church West is a member congregation of Micah. I've just returned from a gathering of hundreds of clergy from all over the country of interfaith religious leaders in Minneapolis last Thursday and Friday. Together, we prayed, we learned, we sang, we witnessed, and we rose in solidarity with the people there. Will you join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation? Spirit of life, Spirit of love, God of many names and beyond all naming, we send love and light to the people of Minneapolis and Minnesota who are mourning the loss of two precious souls, Renee Good and Alex Pretti, who dared to follow their hearts, their moral compasses, and to care for and protect their neighbors. We hold in love and light the people of Minneapolis who are showing the world that community care and solidarity is what keeps us safe, not an unaccountable, violent federal force. We hold and love the people of Minneapolis who have built a beautiful, bodacious, creative network of community care. As people of faith, we know that prayer takes many forms. Minneapolis is teaching us that prayer sometimes looks like rapid response networks organized by neighborhood and by block. Prayer sometimes looks like signal chats to organize all that and make sure it happens. Minneapolis is teaching us that prayer sometimes looks like the work of Anna, who I met in Minneapolis. Brand new to organizing, Anna prays with spreadsheets. In 5 weeks, she put together a mutual aid network of 1,200 people, neighbors helping neighbors, with 60 coordinators using these prayerful spreadsheets to get help with groceries, rides, and rent to people who need it. This is happening everywhere there. Let the people of Milwaukee area know that love is on our side, that we are all held by a great love that will not let us go. Let the people answer love's call, and let the people know that love wins. And as they sing in the streets of Minneapolis to their neighbors who are locked inside, hold on, my dear ones. Hold on, here comes the dawn. Let us be the people of love. Blessed be, and amen.
Good afternoon. My name is Roberta Clark, and I'm the Executive Director of the Jewish Community Relations Council of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation. In the book of Deuteronomy, we are commanded, Tzedek, Tzedek, Tirdof. Justice, justice, you shall pursue. The sages explained the word tzedek, justice, is repeated not only for emphasis, but to teach us in our pursuit of justice, our means must be as just as our ends. We have a responsibility not to shy away from the struggle to safeguard our democratic institutions. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel wrote, "The opposite of good is not evil. The opposite of good is indifference. In a free society, some are guilty, but all are responsible." History has proven that strong and stable democracies are the safest home for all communities. The Jewish Community Relations Council, representing dozens of local Jewish organizations, believes in a just, democratic, and pluralistic society. The Torah calls on us, like other texts we have heard today, to care for the stranger, the widow, and the orphan, to sustain our world. Preservation of the institutions of our constitutional democracy is essential to maintain an inclusive society of all people, of any faith tradition or no faith tradition, where all are safe and free to thrive. When critical democratic institutions are threatened, all communities are made less safe. Members of immigrant communities are cherished family, friends, and neighbors. Individuals who engage in nonviolent actions to support members of immigrant communities are also cherished family, friends, and neighbors. Every person has the right to quality of life, to be able to live lives which allow them and their families to be safe and to contribute their knowledge and skills to our society. We know how hatred works. It begins with the thoughts dehumanizing other. Too often it grows to hateful words, and in our current world, all too often, grows to hateful actions. To support inhumane treatment of members of our community because of their immutable characteristics, because of who they are, is not only hateful, it's un-American. Jewish history, like histories of all the communities that form the rich tapestry of our nation, calls us to uphold a legal immigration system based on the rule of law, national interest, and compassion. Today, we focus on the urgent need for our government and communities to oppose expansions of immigration enforcement authority to federal, state, and local officials that lack proper safeguards, to promote reasoned, firm immigration policies that enhance homeland security without stigmatizing immigrants or infringing on civil rights, and to support asylum protection for individuals fleeing persecution. Whether you identify with any faith tradition or no faith tradition, whether you identify with any political party or no political party, one truth remains: every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. We are called, every single one of us, to ensure that principle, everyone being treated with dignity and respect, is upheld for ourselves, for our neighbors, and for all who seek safety and belonging in this country.
My name is Rabbi Noah Chertkov. I'm a rabbi in the Milwaukee community, and I want to tell you about one of the proudest days of my life, August 30th, 2023, when I stood next to my American wife and my American children, and I pledged allegiance to this country, surrounded by immigrants from all over the world. When we raised our hands that day, we pledged an allegiance to the Constitution and to the United States of America, which is why when I raised my hand on that day, I feel the need to raise my voice today, to say that our neighbors, our friends, our families are deserving of all of the constitutional rights bestowed upon any American, and that we are deserving of due process. We must raise our voices. In this past week's Torah portion, Parsha Bo, in the Torah portion Bo, we learn of the 9th plague on Egypt. It's a plague of darkness, and the sages saw this darkness and they asked, what kind of a darkness was it? They said it wasn't the darkness that was an absence of light. It was a darkness that prevented human beings from seeing the human dignity in each other. We have a responsibility to not just lift our voices or lift our hands, but to lift the light of liberty for all to see so that this country remains a safe haven and a shelter in this world. We raise our voices and we demand transparency whenever lethal force is used. We demand a relentless commitment to due process. We demand serious, humane immigration reform, crafted not for political gain, but for the good of the nation. Emma Lazarus wrote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." And that's not a slogan, it's a moral claim, a spiritual aspiration, and it's a test. I lifted my right hand to join this nation. I lift my voice now because I love it. I believe America can be strong without being cruel, lawful without being reckless, and secure without losing its soul. And now I invite you to join me in prayer. Adon Olam, Master of all people and all peoples, God of justice and mercy, we ask your presence in this difficult hour. Sustain the hearts of those who are afraid. Comfort the families mourning their loved ones. Strengthen the hands of all who work for peace, fairness, and dignity. Guide our leaders to uphold law with compassion and to wield power with humility. Help us to see one another in full humanity, to choose light over darkness, truth over fear, and justice tempered always with love. Amen.
That was a interfaith prayer service happening in Milwaukee, Wisconsin right now. That was live.
Yeah, and we've seen it. We've seen multiple solidarity, just other cities, other states having these kind of protests and gatherings and press conferences to show solidarity with the people of Minneapolis. And it's only so much that stuff can do to change the reality, obviously, but it does warm the heart a little bit to see so many people around the country and around the world supporting the people here in Minneapolis.
Absolutely. We're going to go to commercial break. When we come back, we're going to replay Rob Olson's interview with Senator Klobuchar, and then sending you on to the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock. On the afternoon shift, Max, and we're going to replay an interview that we showed you earlier today.
Yeah, our Fox 9's very own Rob Olson talked to Senator Amy Klobuchar about everything that's going on with ICE over the weekend and then just in general over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
From the GOP side of the aisle now in Congress, some GOP governors, about a fair, transparent, thorough investigation. What do you see happening here?
I think there's a sea change going on, and what we knew was happening in Minnesota, whether you're Democrat or Republican, that this was getting out of hand. We have 3,000 ICE agents and only 1,100 sworn officers in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Our 10 metro police departments, there's more ICE agents here. And out of balance, resulting in horrific shootings, of course. 2 out of the 3 killings in Minnesota have been at the hands of in Minneapolis, have been at the hands of federal agents. And so that's where we are. And what has happened with I would say the videos of the shooting of Alex Pretti, and people seeing, at first it's confusing, but then when you see the enlargement of the videos with the fact that he was a lawful gun owner and that gun was in the holster and it was removed by federal agents and then he was shot in the back, those things are very chilling for the people of this country. So the pushback yesterday was intense. Finally, we had some Republican senators, House members, gun owners, the NRA, some local legislators saying enough. We need a transparent investigation, but a number of them saying this is not okay. Police chiefs in Minnesota and across the country. And I think that has gotten to a pitched level. So what we've been seeing for weeks has finally made it in a big way into the White House.
Had you been hearing any of that GOP concern prior to Saturday? Had it been starting to bubble up?
I had some discussions with Republican senators, so some of it was out there. But honestly, I think yesterday was the breaking point. And that has led, of course, to the president having a discussion with Governor Walz and, not doing a mean tweet coming out of it. And I actually have been talking to various people in the administration for weeks, as have a number of people, our police chiefs, the business community, obviously Chief O'Hara, and really pleading with them to say, stop this. And basically 3,000 ICE agents, get them out of here. They're not making us safe. They're making us less safe. Fraud investigation, please help with that. Apprehending violent offenders, yes, that is a worthy purpose for everyone, but that's not what this has turned into. So I'm hoping that this de-escalation will continue. We need them out of our towns. It's not just Minneapolis-St. Paul, suburbs, small towns.
Yeah, you mentioned the president having a conversation with Governor Walz. I believe you've been in touch with parts of the administration as well. And now the border czar, Tom Homan's being dispatched here. What does all this mean collectively then?
I hope, and this administration can change course very quickly, but I hope that this leads to a decision that while work will continue to be done on violent offenders and on fraud, that this huge number of ICE agents, some of whom are clearly not trained as our police officers are in Minnesota, that they simply leave our state.
You think that's actually nearing the potential outcome of that?
I hope so.
You don't know.
This is based on my discussions with Republicans yesterday and this morning, and certainly the police chiefs coming out statewide and nationally asking for a change and making very clear that they are concerned about the rule of law and following police procedures. That's got to, at some level, affect the president.
And if Tom Homan, the border czar, is coming here, that signals what?
Well, I don't agree with everything he does, but he is the boss of, clearly of the border control involvement in the shooting of Alex Pretti is going to be a major issue going forward. So I hope that he's coming here to de-escalate and to say we are going to listen to the police chiefs, listen to the business community, listen to elected leaders. And we have said enough is enough.
As a former prosecutor, Hennepin County Attorney, I want to get your take on this. When the head of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension discloses they were denied access to the scene, then got a signed warrant, and were still denied access to the scene. As a former prosecutor, how does that strike you?
Well, this is unbelievable to me because we have a very professional Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. They have investigated heinous murders. They have investigated police-involved shootings before. They have investigated, sex rings, you name it. They are very good. And we have always been able to coordinate FBI, Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, local county attorney's office, U.S. attorney, and for them to be denied access is just an unbelievable thing. I hope that will also change. I know that they are undergoing the investigation of this regardless. They want to get everything, not just the videos, and they have to turn those over. And part of this ICE problem of these untrained groups of officers just from other states that don't know our Minnesota roaming our streets is going to result in some very serious situations if they don't leave soon. It has already resulted in 2 deaths.
As you head back to Washington, another topic is, not supporting funding, continued funding for ICE, which brings concerns of maybe a partial government shutdown. I mean, what's the situation here?
Okay, so the important thing to know is we have had a number of bipartisan bills. So that if we can get, there's 5 bills, and if we can get these bills done, and which I support outside of ICE, then it would be a focus on ICE. And we've already funded the government through bipartisan bills, so it would not be, depending on how the Republicans want to handle this, some across-the-board shutdown. This discussion of our ability to represent our constituents and say, this has got to change. We want immigration enforcement. We want order at the border. But what we don't want is groups of basically thugs roaming our streets, not following the law, not wearing body cameras, ramming into people's houses without judicial warrants, picking up legal citizens, not getting the proper training. They're down to 47 days of training from 5 months. And then just too much money in their budget. They increased their budget. I voted against this by 3 times. They are now bigger than the FBI. They have $75 billion, and you can see the results of it with this surge. I would rather use that money for local law enforcement. Let's give this to the police officers in our state and help our state in other ways with health care and the like. We're always going to have immigration enforcement. We should. But the way it's being run now is just wrong.
So is that potential budget funding, could that lead to a dispute that might lead to?
So it could lead to a partial shutdown. It could lead to some agreement to make reforms. There's all kinds of outcomes here. But for us to just say, oh yeah, hey, we're going to keep funding ICE at its current levels and let them keep doing this in the cities of America, even if they pull out of Minnesota, that's not good.
And lastly, I know you filed papers to potentially run for governor. I'm not going to ask you where your mind's at there because you'll make an announcement when you decide to make an announcement. But how has the events of recent days impacted that decision making, maybe in terms of just a time frame in making a decision, or just some of the questions and things you have to consider?
Well, clearly, for me, I like my job now, but I love my state more. And so that's going into the timing of this. I clearly, right now, when we're dealing with this crisis in our state, you've got to put politics aside. But I am clearly, I filed papers. I wouldn't have done that if I wasn't interested in doing this, and so stay tuned.
Thank you. U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
That was Senator Klobuchar right in this room earlier today.
Right here, right in your spot. She took your spot. She sensed that. She says, she's like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit in Adam Lorenz's spot. She said that to me in the hallway. No,
well, Rob said that about you too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Rob was like,
I am totally honored. But yeah, lots of good stuff there from Rob and Senator Amy Klobuchar. And I'm assuming the Fox 9 YouTube, Fox9.com has got that whole thing in full if you want to go back and rewatch it.
That's right. And if you want to stay right here, wherever you're watching Max and I, you'll be seeing the Fox 9 News at 5 o'clock starting here in about 20 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we've got Simone and Kelsey.
That's
that
right. That's right.
Simone and Kelsey coming up for you. In the meantime, we'll be back here same time, same place, giving you all the latest on everything going around in Minnesota. I'm Max Fuller.
I'm Adam Lorenz.
And the 5 o'clock news starts right about